So Pixar's newest original film Soul was released last week on Disney Plus, and I have many thoughts about it, but I don't think I've been left this speechless after watching a film for a long time. Normally when I watch a film, I can pretty easily write my thoughts into a script for a review, but for this film, I think there's only one simple way I can put it. This is one of Pixar's best films. I absolutely loved it. It has a great story with an important message, and I know that is what every other Pixar film is set out like, but this film felt so different from Pixar's other films for some reason, while also feeling very similar and like previous films Pixar have released. And I don't know why it felt so different. Maybe it's because it's set around death, but then again, this is not the first time Pixar have released a film set around death, like literally only a few years ago with Coco. But maybe that is the reason why the film felt so different, because it wasn't directed to kids as much as other Pixar films. It's no secret that Pixar has an intended audience of kids. They are the target audience. But the stories always have this deeper theme and meaning behind them that kids might overlook when watching, but older viewers do pick up on. All of their films have this, and yeah, they have their bright, fun characters that the kids always love, but they have the deeper themes to them. And this film, while yes, it would be enjoyed by kids, it does have those important morals and life lessons packed inside of it, like how you want to live your life, is all this living really worth dying for? What is your purpose in life, and is all the rejection and failure you have to overcome before you get there worth it? There are heaps of deep messaging and deep themes that the kids might not necessarily pick up on, but a lot of older viewers will be able to connect with the story having been in similar circumstances before. And when leaving the movie, everyone is going to have their own interpretation, as the movie leaves open many unanswered questions. But making a movie set around life and all of those big questions and themes is hard for any movie to tackle, let alone a family-friendly film. So you have to give Pixar credit for really pushing the boundaries there. But while also questioning these big things, it does manage to keep the film lighthearted enough to be classified as a kids' film. But it also makes you feel really immersed in the story when you're watching, and you always feel like you're there with the characters. When watching the trailer for this film, which I did an analysis on, I thought that most of the movie would take place in the Great Before, and then in the final act it would take place in New York. Now, I'm so glad that they didn't do this, because even though the whole Seoul world looks okay, the entire New York setting looks like it would be a much more interesting place for the film to take place in, and that's exactly what happened. The first 10 minutes of the film takes place in New York, setting up the main character Joe and who he is and his passion for jazz, and then quickly into the movie, he dies or has a near-death experience, and then they explore the Great Before, showing us how souls get their personalities and their spark, while showing the cool and interesting plot points to take the film in, like where people go when they're lost in their own thoughts, and what happens to their soul when they're going through a hard time. These are creative ideas that they do come back into later on in the story. But after spending a little time with the souls, for the rest of the movie, it's basically set in New York, which I really like to see come in life in a Pixar film. Because animation has come so far in the last few years, the New York street and the character design was really well done. The humans were really nicely designed, and the atmosphere of the busy city streets and the landscape in general felt so detailed and realistic, one of the reasons why you felt so immersed in the story. I loved how they showed off this diverse community and culture of New York and the neighborhood aspect that the film demonstrates. During the second act of the film, Joe and 22 enter the human world, but Joe gets stuck in his soul into a cat, and 22 in Joe's body. I thought this body swap plot was going to be pretty generic at first and seems like something I'd seen in movies a lot before. But the way they did it made it feel so separate and more original than all of the other films that have done this up until this point. When we are first introduced to 22's character, she has been a pre-soul in the Great Before for a very long time and doesn't want to go to Earth or want anything to do with it, and has never been able to find her spark. But when she is stuck in Joe's body, she learns to experience things as a human. While things are scary and unpredictable, she learns the joys of life through Joe's body, and also takes different approaches, like when she's getting the haircut, she talks to them about their personal lives, and that's something Joe doesn't do. When she looks at life from different angles, she can see how great it can be. I found it really interesting to see her develop through the course of the film and have a new outlook on life by the end, and decide that she wants to have a life of her own on Earth. That's when Joe gives up his chance to live so she can. And that brings me on to the ending of the film, because if this weren't a Pixar film, Joe probably would have died, and according to director Pete Docter, There were many drafts where Joe lived and some where he died. Now, I do like the ending they did decide on because it has that nice sweet ending that delivers on the message of hope. And I do appreciate how they did leave open a lot of questions up until interpretation, like what would Joe do with the rest of his life? Will he keep teaching music at the school, or will he pursue his passion of being a musician with jazz, or will he choose some other career path that has nothing to do with being a musician? These questions don't necessarily need answering, the same as what will 22 end up to be. Now, in my opinion, this is the best film of this year. I know that's not really saying much considering the lack of movies that were actually released in 2020, but it's definitely one of Pixar's best films in the last decade. In the last few years, when Pixar have released an original film, it's either been good or not up to their usual standard, and Pixar have also come off a line of sequels and sequels, but it's now refreshing to get some good original movies from Pixar because they are incredible at telling good stories with a clear, inspiring message in mind, and that is exactly what Soul is. It does have all the key elements a Pixar film should have, but it does it in a way that makes the story and the message both inspirational, emotional, and true with the themes and values of the film. It is without a doubt one of Pixar's most mature films, but it's made in a way that makes it suitable for all audiences to enjoy and to connect with. Even though it was released on Christmas Day and it's not a Christmas movie, it does deliver on that hopeful message and celebrating life and looking at the good outcomes life can bring. It is the perfect movie to close off 2020 and is a film that is exactly what the world needs right now. So hopefully Pixar do keep making films like this because with its important, touching themes and powerful messaging that is packed into a fun adventure, it really is one of Pixar's best films. But make sure to comment your thoughts about Pixar's Soul down below, and thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed, and I'll see you next Friday.